Okay, hello. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you all today. My name is Guy Sherwood. I'm a Waldenstroms patient. 15 years now. 15 years I've been a patient, and I have 3 grandchildren, so that's something pretty special for me. I'm very proud to be here. I've just spent a number of days coming to this wonderful scientific conference. I can tell you it's amazing. I've been to a few of these. You can sort of see them. I think I've been to most of them except for maybe the first 2. And every time I attend these conferences, I'm amazed by how far we've come. And this time in particular, I was really amazed. We are getting closer and closer to a cure. For sure, now we can deal with this disease in a chronic fashion. So whether you have Waldenstroms or high blood pressure or diabetes, they're kind of getting to be all the same, you know. I'm still looking for a cure, and I'm quite sure in a few years, 4 or 5 years, we'll have it. My job is really to, I'm a volunteer on the board. I've been on the board of trustees for a number of years. I'm so proud to be associated with people like Elena Marlunas. Elena, stand up. She is on the board. Oh, she left. Okay, very well. And Carl Harrington, which you've just met. There are many other volunteers. We get paid $0. We do it because we just enjoy ourselves and we really want to help each other out. And I'm in charge of research, and this is really our mission statement for research, really. To promote and support research leading to better treatments and ultimately a cure. We're all going for cure. We're not going to stop till we get there. And we focus a lot, by we I mean all of us, because we are a patient-led organization, we try to focus on research that has a lot to do with basic science. So we want to understand fundamentally what's going on with this disease, because that's where it all starts. And again, every time I come to these meetings, it gets deeper and deeper. We're now at the genomic level. We're now at the DNA level, and now we're able to determine, there's always much more to know, but how this disease starts and what makes it tick. We are getting there. So as Carl said, you know, it's been quite a journey for me. I've been on the board of trustees for almost 12 years, I think, on and off, and I was involved in research right off the get-go. And I can tell you the research projects are getting more sophisticated, they're getting more common, we have many more very complex. But all of us, we have supported research $10 million plus and counting. And it's an exponential growth. Every year we give more and more and more. We just handed out $1.7 million in research funds this year alone, new projects. And I'm sure in a few years we'll be handing out $3 million, $4 million a year. I hope, anyways. We also support medical and research workshops. In fact, the IWMF, we contributed to this workshop here. We have for each and every one, actually, we've contributed financially and support for these very important research conferences. And we also, what's very good too, is we support now young investigators. We actually support young doctors, young researchers, because we think we need to keep the ball rolling. And if we can get young people, very intelligent young people, to continue to work in Waldenstroms, that benefits us all. So I like this slide because that's kind of what I do for fun, but also it talks a little bit about the philosophy of research. You have to have the courage to go out there and go looking for things. And sometimes you have to be out and about where you feel a bit uncomfortable. You're not quite sure where you are, but you have at least the courage to seek out new information. And that's very much what happens in the field of research, and thankfully so, because we have people like Dr. Treeon, who has the courage to go out in these unforeseen places and discover very important things about Waldenstroms. All right, I'm going to talk to you a bit about the current research grants we have that we're funding. Some of these are very complex. I don't want to put anybody to sleep, so I'm going to try to simplify things because, quite frankly, I don't understand them all myself. But they're getting so complicated. So this is one that we've had for quite some time. This is a research project, and I've got my little cheat sheets here. Really, what this does is try to understand how the Waldenstroms cells in the microenvironment, by that I mean, you know, the bone marrow, the neighborhood, if you will, how these Waldenstroms cells communicate amongst themselves and also with their neighbors, and their neighbors are also very supportive as well, whether in a kind of a good and bad way, but how they talk to each other and how they, what sort of signals they use to produce IgM. Okay, what makes these Waldenstroms cells produce so much IgM, okay? And what is it with their neighbors that helps them continue to grow and thrive? What are those signals that are being used to sort of maintain the Waldenstrom tumor and make it grow and worsen? Dr. Ansel has been with the IWMF as a researcher for a number of years. We're very proud to continue to support him, and we will continue to do so. The next one is another world-famous researcher from Dana-Farber. This is Dr. Gabriel. And really, Dr. Gabriel, this is one of our most expensive and longest projects that we've supported now. And she is involved in a tissue bank. She's trying to get tissue, bone marrow, blood samples from as many Waldenstrom patients as possible in order to sort of have this bank, this repository of genetic information. She's also, Dr. Gabriel is also focusing a little bit about the very early stages in Waldenstrom. How does Waldenstrom start? I think there's going to come a point in time when we start treating Waldenstroms very early instead of waiting until we start having some problems, which is the way we do things now, appropriately. I think in the future, as soon as you get a diagnosis, irrespective of where you are, or if you get a diagnosis of a condition that may lead to Waldenstroms, I think we will be treating people straight away to avoid all the nonsense that sort of follows. So Dr. Gabriel is very active in this field. This is another, very proud of this. This is for you people from the UK. This is another tissue bank that is being done in the United Kingdom, Dr. Shirley Dessau. And I know they have a lot of support from WMUK. I know some of you here are from that organization. Again, trying to obtain tissue samples, biological material. Researchers need that sort of thing. So when you go see your doctor and they ask you for samples to donate or to give to a tissue bank, please do so. They need this material to sort of analyze and try to understand what's going on with Waldenstroms. Another project, Dr. El-Sawa worked with Dr. Ansel. You may remember him, the first slide I put on. She is really trying to understand, again, the communication between Waldenstroms cells and their neighbors. Cells talk with chemical signals, and sometimes these can be very complicated, very painstaking, slow research, but very important. This is how we find out if we can develop drugs to interfere with that communication signal and perhaps stop the progression of Waldenstroms. This is a project that's close to my heart because it's in Canada. I'm from Canada. And this is sort of the forefront, the new science now in Waldenstroms. How do we use our own immune system to combat Waldenstroms? As it stands right now, we sort of use a lot of drugs to try to target the Waldenstroms cell, but wouldn't it be nice if we were also able to use our own cells to heal, to get rid of that Waldensstrom, those little bad actors that are in our bone marrow and other places. So Dr. Nelson and Nielsen from British Columbia, beautiful place, you haven't been there, they're trying to develop ways to use our own immune system to fight the disease. Another very interesting project from St. Louis, Dr. Azab. So he's trying to develop a test using a PET scan. Everybody know what a PET scan is? It's sort of a glorified CT scan, if you will, to try to predict those people who are in the early stages, if I can say that, of Waldenstroms, even before you develop a Waldenstroms. What makes IgM-MGUS, which is the precursor stage of Waldenstrom, what makes it develop into Waldenstroms, and how can we identify that through a simple test? Because not every patient who has IgM-MGUS goes on to get Waldenstroms, but wouldn't it be nice if we're able to simply do a PET scan and say, you are going to develop Waldenstroms, and then in the future we could target and perhaps cure you before this whole business started, right? So Dr. Azab is actually working on this, on developing this technique. This is a new project for us. You may recognize this name. This is Dr. Stephen Treeon, and also very happy to say Dr. Zachary Hunter. You saw a nice picture of Zachary, who was given the Robert Kyle Award. I've known Zachary for quite some time. I'm so proud that he is staying with us in terms of research for Waldenstroms, which is a big plus and fantastic. Again, this is very basic, very fundamental science. Now we're looking at DNA, at genes, and Dr. Treeon and Dr. Hunter were very instrumental in developing, or discovering, I guess you could say, the genes that sort of have a major impact on Waldenstroms. We are continuing to support them as they seek out different genes that may also contribute, and mutations amongst these genes. So this is very important, fundamental research, and I can tell you this most recent meeting we had here with the scientists and doctors, it was dominated by genetics and by mutations in genes and how to target these the effects of these genes. So we, of course, are going to continue to support that. Again, you may recognize this name once again. This is Dr. Treeon with a number of people. It's not him by himself. He has a very large lab, and you should be very proud of Dr. Treeon. He has assembled an incredible team of researchers. He's not alone, and he's also mentoring a lot of young researchers. So the future of Waldenstroms research is very much supported by this gentleman, Dr. Treeon. And if you ever have a chance to meet him, wonderful fellow, and please, support him as best you can. So this again is the MYD88 gene that is present, a certain mutation that's present in 90% of Waldenstroms patients. This was a landmark discovery, and this gene sort of sets up a series of cascades, a series of signals in the cell that leads to all kinds of problems for us Waldenstroms patients. How do we interfere at the very early stages with this whole cascade and stop, hopefully maybe even cure this disease? So we, of course, are interested in supporting this project. As I mentioned earlier, we are very proud, all of us, we, the IWMF, and when I say the IWMF, I mean all of us, we have supported every one of these international workshops since the very beginning in Washington. I think Dr. Kyle, if he has a chance, can talk to you about that. They mentioned at the first meeting in Washington they had problems with the coffee maker. There were maybe about 30 or 40 people in a room, in a small little room, and one of their major issues was how to get the coffee machine to start. But it's come a very long way. Now we have 262 people who showed up in beautiful Amsterdam, and it's just amazing how much we've grown, really. And of course, we, the LWMF, are very proud to continue to support these workshops, and we will continue to do so for sure. Young investigators, I touched on this. This is an initiative on the part of the IWMF together with our colleagues and friends Dana-Farber. We started this in 2014, supporting young researchers. We need to get new blood, new ideas. They are the future. And we thought, what better way to do this than to actually give them some money to be able to attend these types of meetings. In 2014, together with the EWM, the European Waldenstroms Network, we supported 5 young researchers. This year, 11 young researchers, so quite a jump in 2 years, and I think this is extremely important. If I was at this meeting, like I say, for the past 3-4 days, and it was just incredible, the very sophisticated and forward-thinking research that these young people are coming up with. They are the future. They are the ones who are going to find the cure for Waldenstroms. So, of course, we are going to continue to support them. The next meeting for this workshop is in New York City in 2 years. It boggles the mind how many young investigators we will support. We will support as many as we can. So Carl talked a bit about the roadmap. So because we're getting increasingly sophisticated research projects, they're getting very complicated. which is good and very interesting. We partnered with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Foundation of the United States, huge organization, and of course they have a lot of knowledge insofar as research projects, how to sort of select them. So we actually, in May 2015, we met in New York. We also met, of course, this year as well. But we assembled the experts, a number of experts, and we asked them, what sort of projects should we be supporting? Should we be funding? And these world experts graciously took their time to sort of give us a bit of direction in what sort of research areas we should focus on. I don't know if this pointer works. I'm not even going to try it. So, as you can read, there is, of course, genomics, DNA, which is really fundamental where it all begins. The microenvironment, the neighborhood, because the Waldenstroms cells in your bone marrow, they have neighbors who help them along. These neighbors don't know any better, but they're being, in essence, tricked a little bit by these Waldenstroms cells to help them. So we focus on understanding that neighborhood where the bad actors are. Signal transduction, how do the cells talk to each other? Remember I talked to you about Dr. Ansel, how do they communicate? How can we sort of cut off the telephone lines? And immunotherapies, which is what I'm particularly interested in, and that's how we can recruit our own immune system to target and recognize the Waldenstrom cells and eliminate them. Immunotherapy is very exciting, very potent, works very well. We don't know much about it, but we're getting there, and I think it's going to be the cure. So the strategic roadmap, this year, very happy that we asked researchers around the world to submit research proposals. And we received 18 proposals, which was really amazing to us, and these were very sophisticated proposals. And so we assembled again a team led by Dr. Ansel and Dr. Kyle. We were able to look at 18 of these projects and select the top 3. So we selected the top 3 projects, not me, but these researchers, and we elected to fund 3 of them. And I put this one up front because it's from Amsterdam. So we're very happy for that. And what's interesting is that the 3 projects we selected, we had never funded these people before. So these are 3 new groups of researchers now involved in Waldenstroms. So of course we're very proud. So this is Dr. Powell Spargarden, of course, and Dr. Kirsten, who's here. Where are you? She's here anyways. You've met her, of course. And that is very exciting. Waldenstroms thrives when it sort of stays hidden in the bone marrow. And these people are going to investigate, why these cells stay hidden and stay protected and how we can sort of overcome that so they're just easier to destroy. Very simplified explanation, but it's very complicated. And if you're interested, of course, I can give you more details. But we are very proud to support them for the next 2 years. Another project, which we're very happy because this is from Germany, so we're now, so there are research projects all over the world. And Dr. Buski, who was here at the meeting in Amsterdam, is going to look at a very important mutation, newly discovered genetic mutation, that sometimes makes Waldenstroms more resistant to treatment in certain populations. And that's the CXCR4 gene. So they're going to try to look into this in much more detail, into this mutation, why it confers more resistance to treatment, and how we can overcome this sort of problem, if you will. And finally, from Yale University in the United States, again, a researcher who we had no idea really existed in the world of Waldenstroms, but Dr. Dubkar submitted a research project. It was actually very impressive, very impressive. So we are supporting him, and he is actually going to, again, look at the early stages of Waldenstroms. How does Waldenstroms begin? And once we gather more knowledge, of course, how can we intervene at a very early stage, which is what we all want to happen, of course. Nip it in the bud, as we say. All right, so I want to talk about volunteers because this is very important, because this is what makes our organization really tick. And I think it's a couple of sayings that I really like, and even the smallest act of kindness. And of course, those of you who are carers, this is you know all about this. I've been a patient for 15 years now, 15 and a half years, and I sometimes think it's a lot easier being the patient than being the caregiver. I think of my wife and my children, and boy, I don't know how I would have done if one of them had become sick. So I think the smallest act of kindness really is quite something. And you can read the other quote as well, doesn't matter how many zeros you have in your bank account, it's really what you've done for your fellow human beings that really makes quite a difference. Volunteers, you've seen a picture of Arnie Smokler on the right. That was the first president of the IWMF, followed by Ben Rood. Ben Rood is a gentleman in the middle. He's the one who kind of roped me into this job. And after Ben was Judith May, who you may remember, of course, or some of you may not. And now we have Carl Harrington, who you've just met, fantastic individual who's really propelled the IWMF forward. And we also have Dr. Robert Kyle, who is the Mr. or Dr. Hematology, if you will, of the world, and we're very proud and lucky to have him on our Board of Trustees. These people really are all volunteers. Their salaries are zero, like my salary, and I've asked for a raise this year, and I've got 2 zeros, so I'm quite happy about that. We also have, of course, our research committee. We have volunteers who belong to a committee, and we sort of oversee, if you will, to a certain point, because some of this research is very complicated, but we sort of make sure that these research projects that we all fund follow our agenda as patients and caregivers, and these people are very important and very fortunate to be working with them. We also have, of course, a scientific advisory committee. These are actual experts in Waldenstroms, not like me, and they are led by Dr. Kyle, and they're the ones who give us guidance. They're the ones who explain to us what all these very complicated projects mean and whether or not they are worthwhile to continue supporting. So we're very fortunate to have them. Again, all volunteers. Those of you who have participated in clinical trials, I don't know how many of you have done that. I have. I've participated in 2 clinical trials. I'm almost up for time here. So these people are actually very important. Those are some of our heroes. We cannot advance the cure or research in Waldenstroms for better treatments without people participating in clinical trials. And imagine those people who participated in the very early trials in ibrutinib. They really have benefited quite a bit. So I really believe that people who are in clinical trials are actually receiving the best treatments available. So please consider doing that. And of course, we cannot exist without people who donate money. We do not receive any money from the government. We are practically all self-funded. 99.9% of our funds come from people such as yourself. And like I said, $10 million and counting, and in the next few years this will even grow even more. So I think if you decide to donate money, it goes for good cause. Every dollar you donate for research goes to research. These are my 2 predecessors on the who were head of research. Dr. Judith May was the first ever research chair, and then she moved on to becoming the head of the IWMF. And of course, Dr. Tom Meyer is a very good friend of mine who was just before me in small beginnings, and we've really grown tremendously. Again, volunteers. And of course, that's people that are very important to me and who have made me who I am. So thank you very much, everybody.